Hello, everyone. How are you doing? So I see a lot of people here already. I've just posted a link to know what you expect from this webinar. Like, just share your 3 key words of today's webinar. What do you want to get at the end of this? And then I will see if I can help you with that. Today we're here to talk about why we need a product manifesto and, in my opinion, why Agile Manifesto is outdated. So prepared some things to share here with you, but please just share your perspective here. What do you want to see in this webinar, and then it will help me to provide you some key insights. So let me know if the sound is good, if the image is good to you. Yeah, I'm seeing already some comments. So I'm curious, very curious here. Keen to know why it's really difficult to adapt agile and software product development in spite of all info and knowledge. There's so many today. Oh, this is something quite interesting, right? Yeah, we will get to that. I will share some experience here and so on. So really curious. There are already some words coming in here. What do you expect from webinar today? I will just start sharing my screen with you here, and then we will go also soon to the presentation. So I will talk a little bit what I expect today, what we're gonna do. So let's see here. Share my second screen. Hope you can see now. So yeah, so you see like trends, obsolete product values, product mindset. So these kind of things we are gonna approach here today. So yeah, I hope you will be able to enjoy it. Yeah, Agile IT YouTube. So hi Dave, curious to know how long you've come up with this since you wrote the manifesto and reviewed. Yeah, I have experienced this already. I'm using in some places. I know some people using already my draft. I will come up with more of this. And we exchange. So during this session, what we are gonna do is I will have a presentation here. We share some stories with you and some ideas why I believe we need a product manifesto. And then I want to exchange with you. I don't want to be a monologue. I want like to get your insights, also perspective and exchange. And then in the end, I will send you a link to know who wants to participate in this product manifesto. And then we can have a room and sharpen it together. So let's start then. So I'm seeing here that mainly people want to know why and the mindset of this manifesto I'm talking about. So let's start with what I prepared here for you today. So there's a strong thing I'm saying, like Agile Manifesto is outdated and we need a product manifesto. So this is what I truly believe. We need a product manifesto. Yeah, so before I start here, I'm seeing like some people like Peter saying like I shared the draft and I'm able to implement the ideas. Yeah, I will share this with you also. I have done that and experienced some things. Yeah, so let's just share here what you can expect from today's webinar. So I will approach some topics, like a brief story of the Agile Manifesto, the side effect of it, because it's not, there are the good side and the bad side, you know, like all coins, there are two sides of that. And then why I believe that should be outdated and how product manifesto can untrap teams. And this is something I truly believe, that the product teams are trapped, most of them. And I have been in some product teams where the only thing that matters was delivering more output in the end of the day. Let's just start here with a little bit of history then, and then we can talk about it. And during the session, between the parts here, just put your questions here and then I will always come back and then exchange with you. Yeah, so let's just start with the presentation. Here we go then. A little bit of history. Let's start like this. What were the challenges with software development 2 decades ago? Because we need to think when Agile Manifesto came to place. That was 2 decades ago, exactly in 2002. So we are in 2022. What kind of problems did we have during that time? Well, there was a big problem matching customers' expectations and understanding, because if you go back to this time, it was a time where we had like very prescriptive business analysis, requirement engineering, and the documents of 30 pages and so on. And it was quite hard to match the customer's expectation. And it was a waterfall behavior, like design upfront, everything, and then developers would have to implement things without knowing exactly the problem. They followed specification and had to implement. And that, of course, created a silo effect. So you had the engineering team, like let's say the requirement engineering, and this team was responsible defining what to do and how, and then you would have the implementation team and then the test and so on. And the client, well, the client would just see the solution 6 months after, or sometimes even a year, and so on. But the responsibilities were limited. If I am a requirement engineer, I will write requirements. I am not responsible for the implementation. So if the implementation is wrong, it's not my business. And developers, like software engineers, would say, well, it's not my business to challenge what I am implementing. It's my business to do it right. Still, I have seen some similarities to this even nowadays, and these are problems of 20 years ago. But there was a massive problem of no interaction between devs and business. And that happened. And it was tricky because developers would be like a support area very far from business and just implementing things. It's quite bad that something had to change, right? And if we think how software was developed 2 decades ago, what was the thing? The features were for stakeholders instead of end users. So business defined what to do, and the focus was exactly on pleasing them. Well, it may seem I'm talking about a problem of nowadays, right? But no, I'm talking about something that was supposed to be happening only 20 years ago. But still, I see this pattern until now. But it was stronger 2 decades ago. And the focus was on building, 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 building. It was not about learning if we are doing the right thing. It was all about doing the thing right. And there were a lot of assumptions up front, and we had to do it correctly. Following a plan was the most important thing. And if you want to change something, that was not really welcome. So you couldn't change things. You needed to go through a change request process, very painful, very long, very extensive. Change would be perceived as something incorrect. So the plan was not done in a proper way. So why would it have to change? So many people would have to prove a scope change, and that, of course, led to a long time to market. So what do you think of this? Of course, this is a bad thing. It's not what you want to do. It's very complicated if you are a developer, and also if you are in the business. Of course, a dramatic change was needed. And then Agile Manifesto came to revolutionize the software industry. But see what I'm saying here? It's a software industry. And the Agile Manifesto really made a change. But Agile Manifesto came to be developed by developers for developers. And I'm not saying it is bad and it was bad. I'm using Agile Manifesto in many of my articles. I wrote that several times. But I think it had some side effects, and I think also nowadays our challenges are a bit different. If you look at the principles of Agile Manifesto, they are strong: individuals and interactions over process and tool, working software over comprehensive documentation. These are things that are super strong and they are relevant until now, but they may not provide the guidance we need to ensure we create value for the end users. I know it's written in the Agile Manifesto, everything is about creating valuable software, but what if it's not about software at all? What if it's something else? And working software cannot be a primary measure of success. It needs more than that. But we'll get into more of this a little bit later today. But what did happen once Agile Manifesto came to life? So it happened many things. There was, of course, a big transformation on how software is developed. It changed. Everything became faster, shorter cycles, because it was all about interacting more with the business and then understand their needs and develop that as soon as possible. And the focus was more on collaboration instead of documentation. This thing of having long documents of 30 page, 50 page, everything fully prescriptive. Well, Agile Manifesto contributed to make a change to that. And that is super positive. And it increased the interaction between devs and business. So I don't have a doubt on that. It was super positive. And I guess you also had a good experience with Agile Manifesto. And please just share here in the chat. I see a lot of interaction here. I'm curious to know how Agile Manifesto helped you in your scenario. Very curious to know more about it. So I'm just looking here at some at some comments just for curiosity. There's a question: how do large companies stop measuring deliver and measure outcome instead? We will go into that. So large companies also, no matter what we are doing, I think we should start by knowing the metric we want to increase and then measure that metric. It's not about delivery. If we focus only on creating things, it doesn't mean we are doing the right thing. But just looking here into the chat, just put your comments here. How Agile Manifesto helped you? I'm very curious. On my side, for example, when I got to that, it helped to focus on collaboration. Whenever I started writing long and extensive documents, I asked myself if I was missing the point. I was a business analyst for some years of my life, and I wrote some documents quite extensive. So this is something that I reflect. It doesn't mean that I stopped writing, let's say, extensive documents, but at least I reflected a lot on it. And I see here a comment. I like the focus on feedback loops with Agile Manifesto. It seems like both side value stream. Yeah, I agree with you that the feedback. Some people misunderstand the point of Agile. The point of Agile is not reducing the time to market. It's increasing the time to learn. So it's about speeding up the speed we can learn something. So this is very important. But Agile Manifesto had a side effect as well. And what I'm talking about here as a side effect of Agile Manifesto. Let's start with this certification industry. What happens? It's quite annoying what is happening in the world. There's so many agile certificates right now. For example, you can get a professional Scrum product owner or a certified Scrum product owner from Scrum Alliance, or then you have Scrum Org and you have for Scrum Master, and then you have also the SAFe certificate. But now let's stick to that a little bit. How easy is for you to get the certificate of a product owner? If you memorize a bunch of questions, you can get a professional Scrum product owner. And that doesn't mean you know how to get the job done, but you have a badge. And if you take a course of 2 days, well, you become a CSPO. Quite interesting, right? And even more interesting, it became really an industry. Some of the trainers have no experience whatsoever with product management, but they teach people how to do product ownership. I'm very curious how that can be. And I wrote about it once. I got in a conflict with the COO of Scrum Org. And the question is, like, do we really have good trainers? Do they help people progress as a product owner? And I don't think so. So this is an industry and it's about selling certificate. It's not about helping people become agile. And then another thing that happened is a feature factory. Companies misinterpreted the agile framework as Scrum or some others. It doesn't matter. They really misinterpreted it, and it led to a feature factory. At the end of the day, all that matters is creating more and more output, and they are forgetting about value. So they think that more is what matters, and the product becomes super distractive. Users don't even know how to benefit from the product, and then they start searching for alternatives. So, in my perception, teams are trapped and they need to be untrapped. And another part here is, well, sometimes I think that Agile Manifesto is great, but it led to a faster waterfall because people had different interpretation. It led to a lot of anti-patterns. So if you look at what happens in some Scrum teams, it's just a faster waterfall. It's about following requirements. The product owner becomes a kind of requirement engineer, talk to the business stakeholders, write a bunch of stories on Jira, and then we'll prioritize in the team according to what the team can do, and the team will implement that. And then by the end of the sprint, the team will show the result and then pick the next. That is not agile at all. What are we learning for that? Do we have a space to validate our assumptions or not? That for me doesn't seem like agile, but this is what happens. This is really something painful in our world, I would say. And if you look, I'm not the only one saying that. Marty Kagan wrote something that got quite a lot of attention, and it was about the CSPO. Can you imagine? We have more than 100,000 people certified of CSPO. But you see, majority of these people have been, the thing is, the only formal training they had was this. And how can someone be a product owner without having a solid product management skills? You cannot. And then when it comes to the agile road, some people, for example, they come from different area and then they apply for the certificate, they get that, and then they become a product owner. I don't think it works. And this is super complicated because then these people will not know how to overcome the challenge ahead of them. And the only thing you know as a product professional is you have a lot of challenge. That is super tricky. But there's something else also. So this is a side effect of agile, but it is, what is the critical problems for it? Because this side effect happen because of misunderstanding. And from what I observed over the last 10 years in this industry is the executives are really unwilling to renounce their power. Executives, they want to remain in control. So it means they don't use agile as a means to generate learning. They don't tell the teams what to achieve, but instead they will tell them what to deliver. So you come with roadmaps fully prescriptive. And then what can you do about it? You cannot do anything as a team. You become just a team that has to execute on the plans already defined. So you don't have a room to learn, I would say. And this is super important. And then once the executives are defining what needs to be done instead of what needs to be achieved, the only thing you can expect is a team of people executing instead of being creative and finding solutions that would solve the relevant problems. And the problem is the agile is used as a process, not as a mindset. And if agile is a process, it's not going to help us because a process cannot lead to creating value. It is about embracing the unknown. And we simply don't know what we don't know. And we should use what we know to uncover what we don't know. It's a bit awkward what I'm saying, but this is what happens in the agile world. Our assumptions may fool us, and we create a plan to create an illusion, and that will give us security that we are on the right track. But it doesn't mean we are on the right track at all. This is the right way of failing with agility. So for now, I will just take the time here to address some comments and have a look what we can exchange. I will just leave here this quote from Vilnian, co-founder of Series Scrum. Top management believes it's too risky to have truly self-managing teams. This is why Scrum hits a glass ceiling. Yeah, and this is what I believe as well. So let's just have a look to the comments here, what I have. Many of my company's Scrum Master POs think a daily stand-up retro and demo means agile. Yeah, this is totally true. You know, when you think that just by having the events or rituals or whatever the name you want to call means you're agile, that's very far from reality. That is only a room to do the right things. But are you doing the right thing there? For example, do you use the refinement to refine problems or to estimate solutions? What is this thing you're doing inside there? And what about the sprint planning? Are you using that to set goals and then embrace the unknown and empower the team to reach the goal? Or you're defining the tasks they need to deliver on a limited time frame? What is the thing you're defining? So don't let just the rituals fool you. It's different. Yeah. Let's see what else we have here. But it's something interesting. There is a question here. Why is the product owner and product manager being used within the argument when they are two different roles? Do you think they are two different roles? That surprised me. I don't think they are different. They are implemented different when there's a misunderstanding. For example, a product owner is a role now called as accountability inside Scrum, and product manager is a job. So generally, the product manager is the best person to take the accountability of a product owner. To make this story very short, is one bus, one driver. No matter of the title you have, you should be responsible from end to end. And what am I talking here? It means that you will understand which problems are worth solving, and then you figure out with the team how to get this problem solved and validate if your solution solved that. It's from end to end responsibility. It doesn't matter if you're product owner, product manager, product lead, or whatever product it is, it's one person from end to end. And it's something that really sucks when we have two. Why? For example, SAFe, the scaled agile framework, or in other words, the undercover waterfall agent, has a product owner and a product manager. And SAFe is the product manager is responsible to identify the right thing to do, while the product owner is responsible for doing the thing right. But just think here for a while. If one is defining the what and the other is responsible for the how, once the how fails, then the product manager will say, well, but the product owner implemented that incorrectly. But the product owner can say, but the decision was pointless. So there is no accountability from end to end, and that leads to suboptimal result. And this is another anti-pattern I see. It's a confusion with the names and putting more people, and more adds more complexity. The best way of beating complexity is simplicity. So one bus, one driver. That's what I believe to be the right. And that's what I have experienced to function very well. The more people we had in the way, the more problems we had. So let's look here more. There's one question here. I have PSPO1 and PSM1, and I agree with you what you're saying. My question is, how do I actually get product skills, especially as an employee in an outsourcing company? Well, you need to go the extra mile, I feel you. I have both certificates as you have, Andre. I have also PSPO and PSPM. And how do you get to develop your skills? For me, for example, I have tried many things. I try reading books. I try exchanging with people. And I also try, for example, just taking some course, reading articles on Medium, reading this, exchange, what are you doing, and so on. So I have a set of books I recommended, and I have read them and tried different things. And this is how I develop my product management skills. And I think the best way of developing is by doing and trying things and not being afraid of failing. So the reason I really like Medium and blogs in general is because blogs are ahead of books. So people will post what they are doing and what worked for them, and then you can decide if you want to give it a try or not. So this is how I try to develop my skills. Learn by doing, exchanging with people, and reading books and taking some online course, for example. That has helped me quite a lot. There is a question here from Nurit. Let's say we create a product manifesto. How can we prevent it from becoming another productized certificate industry? This is a very fair question. And I don't know how we can prevent that, but I would like to. I think it's how we use, right? Manifesto is a set of values and principles that we follow, and people subscribe and share their experience, and they believe that would work. It's not about creating certificate to prove that you know how to use it. It is about having experience and sharing that it works for us. So my idea of having a manifesto is about untrapping teams. In my opinion, most of the teams are trapped now, and they need to be untrapped. I know there are some manifestos out there. I will get to this, but I don't believe them. So let's take two more questions before I move on. Do you think we are just now mixing everything and losing clarity? As a Agile community, we have failed to work together and provide clarity. What do you think? Well, I think I have, when I started just this presentation here, I mentioned, when I started this presentation here, I mentioned problems of 2 decades ago. I think we are going back to these problems. We are still having problems with people following stakeholders and delivering exactly what they want and not what the end users need, and developers implementing things, UX following things instead of doing what is right. So I think still companies are going back to the old standards of doing command and control. Executives are not pointing directions, but they are defining what to do, and people don't know what to reach. So I think what is missing here are brave people who are willing to challenge the status quo, who are willing to, instead of following the rules, you don't ask for permission, you may ask for forgiveness. Just be rebel and do what should be done. As a specialist, you should know best what to do and not accept wrong directions. So that's what I would think. Just looking here if there are more questions. Quite enthusiastic here. I see that the chat is quite vivid, and that makes me happy. Oh yeah, safe undercover waterfall agent. Yeah, that's what I have been saying for a while now, and I really believe it is like this. Yeah. So let's say we continue here now, and we will get to some more experience. Okay, so I will just change here the presentation a bit to focus on the slides. And about Agile, someone asked here if we are just mixing things. Yes, I think we are. We are missing the point, because the thing is, Agile is just a means to an end. Some people think the point is about doing Scrum, and yeah, we do Scrum. Who cares if you do Scrum? The thing is, we deliver value. The only thing that matters is creating value. It doesn't matter if you work with Scrum, Kanban, or whatever. You need to create value as soon as possible. And Agile is a great way of speeding up the learning time. So this is what matters the most. When we do Agile just for the sake of doing it, well, we are going to fail. That's the only possible outcome we can get. And there are many traps with Agile. We need to be careful because Agile alone is dangerous. Yes, it's dangerous. That's why I am shifting here from Agile Manifesto to Product Manifesto. So my point here is the following. It doesn't really matter which framework you work with. This is what I mentioned. Because, well, who cares if you work with Scrum, Kanban, Safe, or less? None of these frameworks can guarantee you will deliver value. It's like who is driving the car. It's always a matter who is driving the car. And does the person who drives the car have the right mindset or not? So if you are using Kanban, Scrum, or whatever, you not guarantee value. And of course, with Safe, you will guarantee only bureaucracy because it's a highly complex framework. When I look at that, I get really dizzy. Try to find the customer there. It's like a challenge. It's like hunting for the treasure. I don't find that. And they have the audacity of calling Agile. I don't think so. And let's just have a look here at two of the two principles of Agile Manifesto. I jumped a little bit fast here. So if you follow blind Agile Manifesto, you have some traps. Working software is the primary measure of progress. Can you believe that? How can working software be the primary measure of progress? I have been in many situations where we delivered a lot of things, And you know what? We created no value. We created only confusion. I contributed to create things that nobody ever needed. And we created trash. We threw our work away. But of course, we were not brave from removing it from our product because we invested a lot of time. But still, it was working and it was beautifully working, but nobody was using. And what about business people and developers who work together daily through the project? It's dangerous, super dangerous. Just put the developers talking to the stakeholders and you see what happened. Stakeholders will push for weird things that are in their interest, and then developers will like receive a lot of pressure, and doesn't mean they will create any value whatsoever. But these are principles of Agile Manifesto. Of course, I'm looking only into two principles here, but I'm saying that if you follow that blindly, you fall into some traps, as I did. Okay, so let's just continue here. One of my failures, I just want to share something that happened with me. One of my failures, we had a challenge. I was in Brazil, and we actually identified a big opportunity. We wanted to empower merchandise instructors to handle their trainees autonomously. And what was the thing there? Thing is, like we had people traveling all over Brazil to give trainings to the merchandisers. And the challenge was the business analyst came to me and said, it is hell on earth to consolidate all this data because these guys here, the trainers, they are just taking everything on Excel and then they do it in different sheets. And that becomes super hard for me to consolidate the data and then create the report. And the opportunity we have here is to have just one system, and then they would be forced to use that. For them, it would be easier because they don't need to create Excel files, and then they would just use our system. For me, I could get the report straight away and make decisions very fast. So that sounds reasonable, right? And I was quite enthusiastic about it. And then I started thinking with the business analyst about it. And if you look at this, I was collaborating very close to the business stakeholder, the business analyst. And then I brought some developers to talk to me there and so on. And we found a solution for this. So that's it. We're going to build a training portal where instructors can upload their data there. And that's it. It's going to be super easy. And after a couple of sprints, we worked on these. We came with a solution. And I decided to present to the trainers. I was in São Paulo, the biggest city of Latin America, and then I traveled to the south of Brazil in Porto Alegre, and I presented that to a lot of trainers. And they were quite enthusiastic, and they were looking at that, said, oh, that's quite easy, so it will save me a lot of time. And then someone just raised a hand and said, I have one question. How am I supposed to do that inside the airplane? And I was in silence. I said, what do you mean by inside the airplane? I said, I'm traveling all over Brazil. And the only moment I have time to fill these files is inside the airplane. So I just take my laptop, I fill the Excel files, and once I land, I just send them through email. That's how I do it. And I go to my next gig, so to say. And you know what? I realized we created a solution that didn't fit with the end user scenario. I created a solution for, for the business, but was not what the end user needed. It was quite embarrassing, so to say. And developers were thinking, okay, what can we do now? Maybe we just accept the Excel files and we read them and so on. And then we had a problem to solve that we didn't have in the first place. And the way we solved the solution was by creating another solution. So we created a lot of waste. And why? Because we didn't talk to the real end user in the beginning. But if you look at the Agile Manifesto, well, it was working software, wasn't it? Yeah, it was working software. I talked to the business stakeholders, and they also talked to developers. It was quite easy. But why did I fail? Well, I simply focused on business stakeholders. I didn't focus in anything else. It was my first job as a product owner. But it doesn't matter. I am not the only one falling into this. I was listening to the business and I thought it was the right thing to do, but it turned out not to be. And then, of course, Building the solution was our goal. We were in love with the solution. It seemed to be the right thing to do. And we were super enthusiastic about it, but didn't really work out. And I didn't understand the problem. The problem I thought I was solving was generating reports. I thought the problem was business analysts cannot generate report in a timely manner. So they had to consume a lot of time to consolidate the data and then generate reports. And that was really, you know, easy to commit mistakes because it was something done manually. Yeah, but that was not really the problem. And this is how I failed using fully Agile Manifesto and misunderstanding it also because it didn't provide me guidance. And that's not my only failure. I had many, many, many more. So let's just continue here. Yeah, there was a comment here. Working equals potentially shippable in Scrum. Yeah, exactly. So it means potentially shippable. And what is the meaning of potentially shippable? It can be different things. It depends if you have the right problem in mind to solve and if you know how your solution contributes to that. Exactly. And there was another here. It depends on how we define working. If working includes measures like NPS, then maybe working is good. You see, it depends. And it depends. If it depends, then you know what happens, right? If it depends on the user to understand how to use the software, you can be sure the user is not going to use it correctly. There will be people confused. And that's why Agile Manifesto, it depends on who is using it. So that's one of the reasons I believe a product manifesto can be quite helpful. Yeah, so there's a question here, really like velocity is also problematic. A measure that becomes a target ceases to be a good measure. Yeah, velocity is one of, I would say, the worst measure you can have because it can easily fool you. Because think about it, you deliver 30 star points now and then 35 and then 40, and so what? Who cares? What is the value you are creating from the output you are generating? If you don't know the value you create, it doesn't matter. You can deliver 300 billion star points and create no value, but you can deliver one star point and make the difference. So the point is value, impact, outcome. These are the words that we need to find the meaning behind it. It's not about the output. And moving from being agile to deliver real value is what matters. So changing people's lives for the better. This is what my goal is. And I want more product teams to be empowered to do that. There's this quote here from Jeff Patton. I am a big fan of him, and this quote also means a lot to me. Remember, at the end of the day, your job isn't to get the requirements right. Your job is to change the road. So think about it. It is about changing the road to make it a little bit better place. So you do something, it's not about implementing a requirement. You need to know what is behind that. What do you want to reach once that happens? What kind of problem do you solve? So that is the thing. And now I want to go here with you about one of my success, helping car owners sell their car in 90 minutes. Yeah, many times I had the chance of following the stakeholders. And once I learned the hard way, I stopped doing that. And in this case here, when I got my first job in a startup, in my first day, the CEO of the company told me, you must ensure that our users engage with this app. The engagement needs to increase at least 50% in the next 3 months. Otherwise, we are screwed up because we won't have money to grow. And the business was very simple. You may have read that already in one of my articles. It was about helping car owners sell their cars in 1.5 hours. In Brazil, selling cars is quite painful. It takes a while, it's bureaucratic, and you can easily be scammed. So the idea was we connect car dealers with car owners, simple like that. We put the car in an auction, and people will get an offer by the end, and they get either accept, go home by cab with cash in the bank, or go home with the car and pay nothing. The dealer would be the one paying. And what I got to know there, By this time I was already, I had learned some lessons. Life taught me the hard way. I had failed already, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 times, something like this. And I'm not embarrassed by saying how many times I failed, because these failures taught me a lot. And by then, when the CEO told me you need to increase the engagement of the app, I didn't care if he wanted to increase engagement in the dealer's app software, so to say. I cared about engagement. So I realized the problem was engagement. And when I started, I looked at the numbers, and we had around, I think, 500 dealers. And out of these 500 dealers, only 10 dealers had ever bought a car with us, and only 50 had ever placed bid in one of our auctions. So, of course, there was a massive problem. Either we were getting the wrong dealers, or they were not connecting to our solution. What I did, I tried to understand how they worked. So, I went to visit some car dealers in Brazil, and I observed how they would buy cars. Some of them would just call a lot of people and ask the car owners to bring the car to the store, and then they would look at the car and so on and so on. Some would go in the internet, and then they would start searching. There was a portal in Brazil, I think they're still there, called Web Motors, and then they were searching for specific characteristics of the car and calling the car owners. And I realized that they were doing that in computers, desktop. And then I asked, why don't you do that in your phone? He said, are you kidding me? The phone is too small. I cannot find all the information. It's too slow. This was 2016. So Brazilians didn't have good smartphones. Some of them, yes, but not most of them. And he said, no, I would never ever buy a car from a smartphone. But maybe if there would be something interesting to receive a notification and tell me there's a good car, I would just run to the computer and find it. So I started listening to them and asking, and I understood the user journey, what would make him buy a car. And by doing that, I understood what we could do. And I brought this scenario to the developers. I said, well, the challenge we have right now is our dealers are not engaged in our platform. And here's what I discovered. And I shared that. And by sharing that, developers are quite creative, and they helped me find a solution. And then we created a web portal. And the web portal helped engage the dealers. And after 3 months, we had more than 50% increase in engagement. We had, I think, 70 or 80%, something like this. Don't remember exactly the numbers. But the CEO came to me and said, wow, congratulations, you really did that. How did you increase the engagement in the app? I said, actually, we discontinued the app. We are not using that anymore. We did something else. He said, are you out of your mind? The road is mobile. You need to ensure dealers use that. I said, no, I need to ensure we have a solution for their scenario. And that's what we did. But if you look at these and you think, why did I succeed? What were the key characteristics? I didn't follow exactly what the stakeholders wanted. In this case, the CEO, he was the main stakeholder. There were some more supporting this initiative. I went between the lines. I identified a problem, which was called engagement. And then I needed to go and understand with the end users. So my focus was on the end user. It was not on the stakeholders. For me, stakeholders are enablers. They should be our partners. They are not our enemies. I don't perceive them as enemies, but they are also not our end users. They enable us to deliver value to the end users. So we should establish partnership with them. Without that, we will not be able to succeed as well. And what happened is we solved the problem. We didn't build a solution. We solved the problem. We helped dealers find cars that they want to buy. And then they started participating in the auction, and we started getting better bids and buying more cars. It was simple like that. So let's continue here. I will just go through here. Stop on this slide, and then we will talk a little bit. So, giving all these stories I shared, I truly believe it's time for a product manifesto. And the point I say that is, We need to be value driven. So creating value is all that matters. I know Agile Manifesto is about creating valuable software, but it doesn't provide enough guidance, not to me and not to some other product folks I know. So I think the focus is on solving a problem. And then by identifying problems that are worth solving, we can create value, because not all problems are worth solving. And honestly, I really believe all product teams, or almost all product teams, are trapped. And it's time to stop this feature factory once for all. And this is the reason I long for a product manifesto. For now, let's just have a look here at what we have in the comments, and then I will jump to the product manifesto and continue the exchange with you. Yeah, I'm seeing a discussion here of value and velocity. Yeah, value and velocity is something tricky, right? We cannot have confusion in that. And sometimes velocity and value, they don't go together. They don't have a relation, at least not that I can understand. If you know a relation between value and velocity, just share here, and then we can just explore this. And I would love to learn from you. Now, let's go into the product manifesto then. Our current challenges are really different than 20 years ago. Well, I mentioned that some are in the same way still trying to please stakeholders instead of addressing real problems. But we don't struggle at least to build software. 20 years ago, softwares were buggy. It was hard to deliver quality in software. Nowadays, you can put a website live, I don't know, in a couple of hours. Some of you may have seen my website, d-pereira.com. I put that website live, I think, in 5 days. And I had to migrate all of my articles from Medium, more than 150. And it took me 5 days. I just got a template, put on WordPress. That's it. It was super easy. We don't struggle to build software, but we struggle to create value. Value is what is our pain now. How can we identify what yields value and what not? So these are the things that I really believe get in the way of creating value. The focus on building software instead of understanding what is worth solving, which kind of problems matter. And why do we need the product manifesto then? My perspective is a sharper manifesto can really provide guidance, and then it will help us move from delivering solution to solving problems. Because the problem is, once we fall in love with a solution, we are just blind. It's kind of flying blind. What can we do about it? That doesn't really help us. But if once we know the problem we are solving, and we know by solving this problem, end users will benefit from it, that's where we find the nuggets, and then we can do something that is meaningful instead of something that is just pointless. And as I mentioned several times here, product teams are just trapped and they need help to untrap themselves. Because product teams, they are either trapped because executives are defining roadmaps directly and they are just following that, or because they have bad product management skills, or because of many other factors. And I think they need help to be untrapped. And now we will go to the product manifesto. I will share some experience with this. I believe some of you have already read my manifesto, and I call it as a draft. And I have been using this, and I know some other people all over the world using, like from Brazil to Germany and Australia and some other place. And the first principle for me is solving problems over implementing solutions. And here is about identifying problems that matters, because not all problems are relevant to the end users, and we need to find the ones they care about. And once we find these ones, we understand if it is worth solving, because maybe it's too complex to solve that and it won't generate business value. And maybe we don't even have the technology or knowledge to do it. So it's about identifying these kind of problems. And then we have another here, outcome orientation. And this is very connected to value, impact, whatever name we choose. For me, it's impact to have, for me, what matters is having clarity on what we want to achieve with what we are doing. So outcome orientation is more important than delivering features. And some of the features, we need to be brave and remove them, because if they are not contributing to value, what are we supposed to do with them? And the other principle, the third one, is about hypothesis validation instead of following opinions. We live in a world full of opinionated people. And they come with suggestions and they say, yeah, that's how we go and that's what we should implement and so on. But if we don't validate the hypothesis behind it, again, we're just flying blind. We need to validate the assumptions we have. Otherwise, we will just create wasted feature, wasted of time, and so on. And validating assumptions is more important than following opinions. There's one question I really like asking stakeholders when they come with strong opinions. Say, maybe I'm missing something. I see you're really enthusiastic about it, but which evidence do you have about it? Maybe you help me understand. Maybe you have something I don't know. And the last principle is about empathizing with end users instead of presuming their needs. And this is something quite painful that happened with me many times. I thought I knew what end users needed, and then I was just surprised. I didn't know at all. And once I showed the solution, they couldn't benefit from this. So empathizing with them for me means being able to walk a mile in their shoes, and then you feel what they feel. So this is key to success. And as I mentioned, this I call as a draft, and I would like to get a group of people to help me sharpen that. And I will share a link here, and then we can establish a smaller section, and we can interact in a Zoom call and create a Miro board and share ideas and so on, and sharpen this product manifesto. And my idea is to put it live and then get subscribers for this and start learning more. I'm not calling this as a final version. I have been using this, but I'm not saying this is the end version. I use this with people who are coach. I use this in some product teams, and it has been quite helpful. But I want to sharpen and make it broader. And I know there are more product manifestos out there. Product School created one in a partnership with Facebook. But I don't believe that. If you look at this product manifesto, it's highly prescriptive and is super hard to understand. And I cannot follow a product manifesto from Facebook. Sorry, but I don't believe Facebook. For me, being ethical is very important. And a product manifesto also should address creating solutions that are ethical. It's not because we can do something that we should do it. I see, for example, products benefiting from, let's say, our psychological weaknesses and getting us addicted to things. I don't think this is ethical. And Product Manifesto should address that as well. So I will share here a link with you, and then you can also, if you are interested in working with me in a product manifesto, you can just leave your email here in this form, and then I will contact you and we will continue working on this together. I will share also the principles I had for this manifesto and why I believe they are meaningful for us. Here we go. So I have a total of 12 principles, and I will explain them. So the first one is about generating value is the ultimate measure of success. Of course, we need to define what value is, but we need to start also by knowing the end, what we want to achieve. And that is that is how we measure success. And the second one is very connected. Establishing clarity on what value means and what doesn't is key to success. Because value is not always financial. It's not only dollars, euros, and whatever. Value can be something like engagement, what I meant before. We need to understand what is value, then we can work accordingly. And the third one is quite strong. It is never start evaluating solution until you understand the problem. I got caught on this many times. Sometimes I would bring a solution to a refinement session. And one developer wants to look at me and said, David, I really see the solution is clear, very well defined, and so on. But as a developer, I need to know the problem I'm solving then I can see the connection between the solution and the problem. I'd like to be part of the solution. And I realized actually I didn't know the problem. I knew the solution. And I said, what am I talking about here? I was just following the stakeholders' wishes, but I didn't know what we were solving. So, for this reason, I really see that knowing the problem beforehand is key to creating a product. And set one priority at a time and say no to whatever distracts you from that. Sounds simple, right? In Scrum, we have the product goal, and then if something distracts us from achieving the product goal, we can say no, and then we don't do it. But sometimes I hear people saying priorities, plural, and then I get confused. How can you have priorities? I would say we have only one priority, and that's where our energy should go. And that is what I believe. There's one question here I just want to address is, do you have any example on how you define value? Yeah, I would say, for example, value in some case would be we want to increase our client satisfaction, and how do we increase that? Would be increasing our NPS score, Net Promoter Score. The more people recommending us, the more value we create. That would be one. Increasing engagement. That's another. Like growth rate. So many things could be in this direction. So it's about the KPI you want to create, and also for the users, like helping them solve the problems they have. And then you understand the problem you want. In Brazil, for example, going to the car market, creating value for the user would be we help them sell their cars in 90 minutes without bureaucracy. And if they would get a fair offer and then be able to sell the car, that's value. They made a deal in 90 minutes. We saved a lot of time for them, and they went home happy, and we didn't receive complaints about it. That's a way of evaluating, for example. Continue here. Fifth one is about embrace learning by finding fast ways of validating assumptions. As I mentioned many times in this webinar today, embracing learning is vital. The faster we learn, the faster we succeed. It's simple like that. And if we think we know everything, we're wrong. We don't know. Actually, we mainly know nothing until the end users can benefit from something. So finding ways of speeding up the learning time is key to succeed. Simple like that. And the sixth one is leadership. Trust the product teams to do the right thing. Therefore, product teams are empowered to make decisions. This is more for executives. It's not exactly focused on the product team, because the trap is executives, they hire a bunch of specialists, let's say product managers and so on, but then they don't let these guys do the right thing. They tell them what to do. And the same for software engineer, UX designers, product designers, and so on. Without trust, there's no progress. Simple like that. And then let's go here. Just want to address some topics. I'm seeing here that I scheduled for 1 hour. We will need a little bit more than that. I think we will go 1 hour, 10 minutes, 1 hour, 15. I would highly appreciate if you can stay. I see the chat quite active. So let's go into that. Here, there's a question here. As a PO, PM, gaining consensus on the problem being solved is important. Stakeholders might not understand the problem, or they might have varying views on what the problem is going to be solved. Well, I have a little bit different perspective on the word consensus. I think understanding is key, but consensus, I don't know what you mean by that. I don't think we need to gain buy-in from all the stakeholders, but we need to ensure they understand the priority and they are committed to that. Because I think the best person in the job should make the decision. I don't believe in consensus. I believe in commitment, and we trust the other and we respect the decision. Because, for example, if we go in a group of stakeholders, it's everyone knows everyone is a specialist in a different area, and if everyone have the chance of giving opinion and weighing in, what will lead to is a suboptimal decision. I think the best man in the job, or best person in the job, should say, need to make the decision. Just going through here. what is the focus of learning when building software? What do you mean when you say embrace learning? What I mean, for example, before you create software, you validate assumptions, you create prototypes, and then you validate with end users, and you prove you are in the right direction, and you learn if you are creating the right solution before you create the full solution. So you start small before you go big. You don't invest a lot of time. Invest time to generate evidence that your assumptions are correct. The rhythm is off with number 6. I'd like that consolidate into a single sentence somehow. Yeah, I agree with you, and that's the reason I want help. I'm calling this a draft and not a final version. I think the direction for me is about a leadership and empowering team, but yeah, we can. For now, I want to gain supporters on this, and we can have a session when a smaller group and see who wants to participate, and then we can make that sharper and put it live. I think you gave here a suggestion already. Leadership trusts and empowers teams to make decisions and do the right thing. Yeah, I like it. So I think it better. Yeah, I see another collaboration over consensus. Yeah, I fully agree. That's what I believe to be the right thing also. And now going to the second part of the product manifesto. Yeah, don't keep useless features in the product. Remove what doesn't add value. And this is about being brave. If we did something and didn't create the value expected, we just need to remove from the software. I said that many times already in my webinars, and I said that in many of my articles. A great product is not the one you have nothing else to add, it's the one you have nothing else to remove. Keep it simple. Look at Google. It's very simple. You know what to do. You don't have distractions there. And another one is, you know how I like backlog, right? Backlog needs to be as lean as possible. So you need to create space for the new. That means you remove the old so the new will find its space. So set a due date for backlog items. Continuously adapt what you've learned. So for example, when something is not when something gets old, just delete it from the backlog. For me, this can be 3 months. If you are radical, can be 1 month. It depends. But leave space for the new. Don't stick to your old guns. Embrace learning. So adapt your backlog to what you have learned. And then we have the next one, strive for alignment with stakeholders instead of trying to please them. Yeah, this is what I have said many times. It's about establishing partnerships. Stakeholders are not your enemies, they are your partners. You need to be aligned with them. It's not about pleasing them. You don't need to do what they want. You need to help them create value, and you collaborate until you find opportunities, and they will be enablers. They are not the end users. It's very key for you to understand that. Learn how to differentiate needs from wants. Need is something the end user cannot live without, and want is something like a nice to have. The issue is it's easier to see the wants because that's the first thing end users will name or you will observe. But the wants are not the ones that create value, are the needs. These are where the value is created and why end users will come back to your product. And then we have end users' feedback matters more than stakeholders' opinion. Define what, let's see here. It is about we collect evidence from the real end user. And then after this, we will know what to do. And we should find ways of creating evidence as fast as possible. Otherwise, we will live in an opinionated world. Stakeholders always have opinions, but this doesn't help. What helps is evidence from real users. And the last one, define what leads to success and create ways of measuring it daily. So what leads to success? And here, don't confuse to what value is. Because if I say that value is increasing the NPS, this is too late in the conversion funnel. It means someone made a deal with you, bought your product or whatever, and then evaluated. So you see how far that is in the conversion funnel. Many things need to happen until you get there. So what am I saying here? The moment you realize your NPS is bad, you cannot do anything about it. It's too late. Therefore, you need to define what leads to success. For example, in online shopping, maybe it is the delivery time, also the accuracy of your product description. and setting clear expectations. So if you see, for example, delivering time not being matched, so you can expect complaints. Then you can act before. So you need to measure all of these items before. Yeah. So now let's just have a look here. What do we have? Some people are already running. Oh, that's such a pity. But yeah, I'm going over time here. We'll have another round, as I told you already. And I want to do the other round in a more interactive way. But for now, but what I also want from you, from the ones who are in the room, please just share with me what your takeaways are. I just posted here a link. I want to know what you're taking away from this session. What are you going to do from now on? Very curious to know from you if this was useful or not. Just share, and then I want to learn from you. And now I will go from here, from some comments, and then I will address some of them and exchange with you. So I'm saying here, I'm seeing this one, generating value is an aspiration. If you want to inspire your teams and organization, you need to start with vision, mission, purpose, why, and core values. Yeah, I agree partly, but if you know the value and you help the team see how their work contributes to the value, is the very first step. A mission is very far, and the value is something tangible that we can create and we can see the effect straight away. Yeah, so let's see what else we have here. So product owners are often not responsible for delivering value. We need to make sure that they are responsible for the business value, invest in marketing rather than software development. I couldn't agree more with you. What happens is sometimes product owners are responsible for the execution, for the technical part, about delivering features, but the decisions are made beforehand. I think this is a faulty behavior. This is an anti-pattern. That's what I believe. It's not about the delivering software. It's about creating value. And product owners should be accountable for that and not for the other part. Let's see what else here. We might need to define prioritization techniques to avoid gold plating. Fully agree with you. Better to remove want, do option in Moscow, because no point in discussion features we won't do. Yeah, you know what I like doing? I wrote recently about prioritization. I posted a video you can find here on my YouTube channel. It's prioritization made simple. And I think can be just a matrix. And you can have in one side like the expected value, expected outcome, and the other the effort. And then you place the items there and you decide what you're gonna invest. Prioritization is not to be complex. Prioritization is something, it's a guess, and then we decide what we are going to put effort into and what we are not. And then we focus on this. So let's see what else we have here. I'm just looking. I'm just looking at more questions. There's one here. Looking up to follow up on this, definitely making me excited about co-creating a manifesto. Cool. I just want more people. Invite more. I will keep writing on this, and I will schedule a room, and then we can talk on about it. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. I always enjoy your writings and often apply your thought leadership. Thanks. I'm glad to know that. It makes me really happy. Yeah. I like John Smart's idea to rename product owner role to stakeholder outcome lead. That's a different one. You know, I don't like the name product owner, although I have written about product owner a lot of times, but I don't like the name product manager either. We are not managers as a product manager. We are leaders, and leading is different than managing. And that is a trap, you know, because when we think that our role is about managing, we just fail. It is really not about this. Just want to share with you what I got here already um, from the Mentimeter, just adding on the screen. So what is your takeaway? Value, focus, energy, draft, remove unnecessary features. Oh, that's amazing. We really need to do that. Adapt our product backlog. We have hope. Yeah, we have hope. I like it. Love it. We do have hope. And once we have hope, well, that is what we want, right? We want to believe we can do different. We want to believe we can change the product road. And as I'm saying, I want to believe we can maximize the value and untrap the product teams. And for that, my final point here, we need to be rebellious to succeed. If we try just to follow the rules, you're going to fail. We need to be value maximizers and brave. And instead of just accepting the status quo, well, just be rebel and do what you should do instead of what you're demanded to. And if you want to know more about it, just join me and let's help the product road. You can find more about me on d-pereira.com and my social networks. All of them are the same, David A.V. Pereira on Medium, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Just write to me if you want to exchange more about it. And if you enjoyed what I have shared today, you can subscribe to my channel. You'll get more videos like this. Just hit the like button also. And I highly appreciate your participation. It means a lot to me. I like when I see a lot of people engaging on this. And yeah, very curious to continue on this journey. As I said, I'm using the Product Manifesto, and I want more people to use it and benefit. And I'm not taking my version as the ultimate version. It's just a start, and then we can make it better together. Yeah, I see just reading some more comments. I see the Product Manifesto is a good chance to also improve our work environment. Yeah, I believe that also. I see many people not motivated because they come to work and it's a vicious circle. Like I see developers, yeah, I need to deliver more features, and they are pressured for output, not for outcome. Getting out of the feature factor. Let's see what we can do. Love it. Let's just interact on that. Yeah, I will share the video. So there's a question here. It will be available on my channel. Just subscribe here. You'll get notification. I will also post on LinkedIn. You'll find the video there. For you to be rebellious, you need to understand the current system first and have an effective solution for what you are rebelling. Yeah, of course. But what I'm saying here is if you want to succeed, you cannot accept, like, let's say executives, top manager, or whoever it is telling you what to do. If you accept what to do, then you're already missing the point. Giggle, garbage in, garbage out. You cannot accept garbage in. You need to be like the guardian of what is coming. And then once you know where to go, you can find the path. But if someone is giving you already the path without knowing where to go, garbage in, garbage out. So that's not what you want. Thank you, everyone. I'm gonna finish for today. Thanks a lot. I really enjoyed your participation, and let's keep on it. Let's untrap the product world. Together we can make it. Have a nice evening. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.